interesting NBA topics to discuss. So a rival league to the NBA could be on the horizon, with LeBron James business manager Maverick Carter brought on as an advisor to a group seeking to raise $5 billion to form an international basketball league, 6 men's and 6 women's teams. Although Carter's closely tied to Los Angeles Lakers star, sources told ESPN that LeBron James is not involved in the efforts with this new league. Very, very interesting. Brian Windhorst is here with us to discuss it all. Hi, Wendy, by the way. Great to have you with us. Morning. Stephen A., what's your reaction to this? You know, rival league here to the
I have several
NBA
reactions.
with Mav Carter.
I have several reactions. Number one, respectfully, nobody, and I mean nobody on the planet, wants to hear that something doesn't involve LeBron James when Maverick Carter is doing that. I mean, that's just one of the most asinine things that somebody could put out there. Nobody believes that. It's an insult to anybody to think that Maverick Carter, as brilliant as he is, and as many things as he engages in, is engaging in something of this magnitude, and it has absolutely nothing to do with LeBron James. That's just nonsense. Nobody believes that. So let's get that out the way. That's number one. Number two, Wendy, and again, this is all speculative. I just learned about this story. I haven't called anybody about it. They're just asking my opinion just based on the news reports. I haven't spoken to Maverick. I haven't spoken to anybody else. I haven't spoken to folks on the other side, even though I know some folks overseas. I haven't spoken to anybody about this yet. But when I saw this story, the first thing that jumped to my mind was one of two things. LeBron James recognizes he won't ultimately become an owner of an NBA franchise, or he wants the NBA to think about what he can do if they don't acquiesce and ultimately let him become the owner of an NBA franchise down the line. Now, if he talked about it before the in-season tournament for the Lakers won the in-season tournament last year, he would love to become the owner of an NBA team. He would love to bring a team to Las Vegas and be a part owner for that. That's going to cost you about $7 billion to have, for an NBA team in Las Vegas. The price is going to be about $7 billion. Having said that, Wendy, he needs additional investors and all of that stuff. We all know that LeBron James can come up with the money. He can come up with investors. Plenty of investors that would love to connect with LeBron James, especially to own an NBA franchise. But they still have to let you in. In order to let you in, they got to take a bunch of things into consideration. Has he been the marquee? Sure. Has he answered the call as the marquee? Fine. Got 4 championships, 4 league MVPs, has never cheated the game with his effort, his conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, when you look at today's NBA culture, when you look at some of the hits NBA players take, particularly as we approach All-Star Week in the slam dunk contest that LeBron James never participated in, the flagrant, lackadaisical effort they put forth during All-Star Weekend, LeBron James, way before all of that, deciding to take his talents to South Beach from Cleveland, and Dan Gilbert, the owner for the Cavaliers, had to find out watching the news just like everybody else, or watching him with Jim Gray just like everybody else. Those kind of things are the kind of, along with that player empowerment movement that LeBron has instigated, which people like myself clearly applaud him for, those kind of things, the flagrant manner in which he has done it, that has served to turn owners off, which you know all too well, Wendy. How good or how much does that serve to ingratiate him with them in terms of their support with him coming in as an owner? Everybody wanted that for Michael Jordan because of what Michael Jordan did for the league. Even though people like myself, you, and others appreciate what LeBron has done in terms of his part, he's been a beneficiary of the sacrifices that the Magic Johnsons, the Larry Birds, the Michael Jordan, and others have made. And there are some who believe there is an absence of appreciation on his part in that regard, which is why they would probably get in the way of him having an ownership stake, which would explain a story like this. That's what came to my mind, Wendy. That's where I'm at.
Okay. We could go hours on this topic. There's really 2 things going on. One is the global basketball aspect of this, and one is the LeBron aspect. Let me do the global basketball one. That's a little bit simpler. There is no league that is going to exist that is going to rival the NBA. That is an interesting headline. It's an interesting ambition. The NBA just signed an 11-year, $76 billion media rights deal. Within the next decade, a star player like Luka Doncic or Victor Wembanyama or Superflag, we don't know, will make $100 million a year. You can look at the math and the way the salary cap is written. They're going to reach $100 million a year. This summer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is likely going to extend his contract with the Thunder, and by the end of that contract, be making $80 million a year. There is no functional way that another league could exist to draw away players without who could compare it to this. There is a truth that there is money out there in the world that wants to invest in basketball that is struggling to find a place for it, specifically the sovereign wealth fund money in the Middle East. The NBA is limiting that. LeBron has spent time over there. Steph has spent time over there. They have interest. That's a bigger conversation, and that's probably where this is going because there's an access to a pool of money. But let's push that aside, and we'll see what happens with this league. We may never hear about it again. It may turn into something in 2 years. For LeBron's future as a owner of basketball, whether that's in the NBA or elsewhere, the most valuable thing in all of sports, I would argue, but I won't even focus on the other sports I don't know, like the NFL or baseball. The most valuable thing in the NBA is equity in teams. You can talk about players. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they come and go. The most tangible thing that the NBA guards the most is the equity in teams. It is absolutely worth gold. You look at where it goes over the course of decades, it's one of the greatest investments in America. And so that's why it's very protected. And so getting equity in teams is extremely difficult and extremely expensive. And it takes a long time and a lot of money. And absolutely, it's something LeBron has been thinking about for the better part of a decade. And it had to do with the investments he's made. It's had to do with the relationships he's built. And Stephen A., we all know LeBron wants to own the expansion team in Las Vegas. As I sit here today in mid-January 2025, I'm not even 100% sure there's going to be an expansion team in Las Vegas. The NBA is in no hurry with that. They are focusing more, believe it or not, on European expansion, not with NBA teams. Adam Silver is spending time right now not talking about putting a team in Las Vegas and Seattle, but about putting teams in London and Paris and Berlin. That's the next announcement that you're going to see from the NBA. So I don't even know if there's going to be an expansion team in Las Vegas. And if there is, there's going to be robust interest in it where a lot of people beyond LeBron James Group are probably going to bid. So you are absolutely correct. There is going to be a fascinating drama that is going to play out when LeBron is done playing about what his next chapter will be in global basketball and whether that's in America or somewhere else.
That's a really beautiful soliloquy that you threw out there, as Ryan Clark did in the first segment of this show. But Wendy, I said specific things, my brother, and I'm on TV right now with one of the best, you. You heard what the hell I said in terms of LeBron alienating owners because of a variety of things that he was willing to do throughout his career that they felt a bit put off about, to say the least. What level of credence do you give to the potential of that?
I think when it comes to equity of teams, there are no friends. There are no friends. And what you've done in the past only matters a little. And just look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the greatest thing to ever happen to the NBA. It took him years and 3 different tries. He tried to buy the Bucks. He bought a piece of the Wizards, and that deal fell apart. And he finally got the Hornets, and that deal was a one-off deal where David Stern basically guided him into it. The idea that LeBron or any player is going to be able to get equity, even if they had the greatest relationship with the owners, which LeBron's is a little bit complicated. On balance, he's been worth tens of billions of dollars to the league. But if you think that the league will pay him back by kicking the ball into the fairway and helping him out when it comes to actual equity or controlling share of a team, you don't know how these billionaires operate.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying exactly the opposite.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, exactly. I get you. That's what I'm saying now, because they won't be inclined to help him at all.
Why?
But I'm just being
saying
direct.
It doesn't even matter whether they like him or not. They just don't. They're not giving anybody anything when it comes to.
Well, I disagree with you on that part. I disagree with you on that part. Let's take, and Molly, hold on for a second.
Sure.
Let's take into account the history of Michael Jordan when it became the Charlotte. You know this story, so America will know. Bob Johnson, former owner of BT, all right? he was sitting there competing with Larry Bird and Larry Bird's group to get the franchise. Larry Bird had about 14 different partners, and they said this was the asking price, and, he had to come up with it. Bob Johnson rolled up in there by himself and said, last time I checked, this was a business deal. And here is my financial portfolio. And the next thing you know, they were like, cut the check, okay? But it did help that he had somebody like the great Jerry Colangelo, former owner for the Phoenix Suns, there to help him, okay? They had those Illinois roots. They were pretty tight, and that helped him. Michael Jordan ultimately comes in. Why? Because David Stern was there to help him. Who's interested in helping LeBron James from that group of people?
Yeah, I would say two things about that. Number one, in the 25 years I've been involved with the NBA, there has been one team that is sold for less than it was purchased for. One team, and that was the Charlotte Bobcats.
Right.
Bob Johnson actually took a loss on that team.
That's right. Yeah.
Also, the deal that Michael Jordan made to buy that team would have not have been approved for Bob Johnson or you or me or anybody else
Correct.
that wasn't Michael Jordan, because what he put down versus, I won't go into all the details.
No. Yeah.
They absolutely helped him into that team, and it still
That's my
took
point.
everything. And so if your point is that LeBron would not get the same courtesy, I believe that's
my
true,
point.
but with an asterisk. These teams are not selling for less. That came at a time when the NBA was not in a great place. Now, as you're talking about franchises selling for $7 billion, I think that the Celtics are going to touch that when they eventually sell this year, and I do believe that would be about the expansion fee. It not only is it a referendum on maybe where owners feel about LeBron, it's just a referendum on the value of equity in these teams. It wasn't the same when Jordan bought the Bobcats.
Stephen
That's just the
A,
bottom
And
line.
I want everybody to understand, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said. You broke it down very accurately. I'm good with that. The internationalization, the globalization of the sport, the elevation of the team's value, etc. Nobody's taking less. Not these days, especially. And we all knew this was going to happen from the moment Steve Ballmer got the Clippers for $2 billion. Remember that? We all knew that was going to happen. Okay, we all knew that the course that they on now, it was forthcoming. We knew that was coming. The issue for me with this story is that Michael Jordan had assistants. He had somebody in that room who wanted to help him. I can't think of anybody who is going to want to help LeBron James. That's what I'm saying. And that is a story that I think is going to percolate and is going to gain traction and momentum in the weeks and the months to come. That's my only point.
Can I just say one thing really quickly? I would not be shocked if we lived in a world where there was a live golf situation when we talk about an international league and all the money that's overseas, especially in the Middle East. But I want to push back on one thing where I don't totally understand, so maybe the audience at home doesn't either. Why would the NBA, why would these owners make it difficult for a Michael Jordan or not want to help a LeBron James to become an owner when they've done so much for the game?
Well, help is a relative term.
That's right.
As far as, nobody's giving anybody a discount on something that's worth $7 billion that multiple people are bidding on.
So you're saying it's a financial issue?
It's just, I'm saying, the NBA can do 1,000 different things to honor and thank LeBron James. Giving equity is just not one of them. By the way, he understands that. He knows he's not going to be able to buy a $7 billion asset for $4 billion. He knows that. He knows he needs partners. But it's going to be fascinating. And as far as the overseas thing, Molly, let me just say this about global basketball.
Okay.
There's a problem in global basketball. The biggest fan base is in China, but they have no players, okay? The NBA's tried for 25 years to get another Yao Ming. It hasn't happened. The best players are in Europe, but there's no money. These soccer teams, the top paid players in Europe make less than what NBA minimum guys make, okay? There's no money there. The players are there. There's no money there. The money is in the Middle East.
Yeah.
But they don't have players or people, and there's problems, politically and taking that money. So there's a bit of a gap in global basketball that's interesting. And I think LeBron and Maverick and other people see it. And as we watch over the next 10 or 15 years, that's going to be interesting. And literally right now, the NBA is saying, we're going to maybe go to Europe. But as far as the idea that LeBron is going to be given any sort of assistance and any help. I would be surprised if that happened because these owners guard this equity like it's a family member.
Well,
and blood is
and
thicker than water.
no, hold on. Enough. Because see, here's my point. Wendy is not wrong, Molly,
Yeah.
but respectfully, he's not getting to what your real question is. Okay? Because you're asking about somebody like Michael Jordan, somebody like LeBron James. With all that they've done for the game,
Yeah, it doesn't sit
why
with
would
me.
they not receive the report? Because it's a good old boys club at the end of the day. And if they don't like you and they don't like the way that you've done business with them, they don't have to let you in. Or if they don't like the impact or the resonance that you would bring to that room, they don't have to let you in. Certainly, Wendy's absolutely right. It's about the money first. It's about the equity first. It's about business first. But my point to you is that all things being equal, would you be as receptive to helping a LeBron compared to somebody else that never played the game, that's got billions of dollars and obviously can afford to own a franchise? Chances are you're going to give him resistance because you've seen the league have issues with LeBron despite all he's done for the league, because in several instances, there are things that he has done that they've deduced is against their best interests as owners, as a business. They feel that way, whether it's accurate or not. They actually feel that way. And I know this because I have been told this by people who are in that room. And I'm sure Wendy has as well.
I'm not disputing what he's saying, Molly. What I would say is this. If LeBron retires in 3 years and in 4 years there is a bidding for an expansion team like Las Vegas or Seattle, and 4 ownership groups come in and they all offer the same amount of money, whatever it is, and LeBron is in one of those ownership groups, I think his incredible value and what he's brought to the NBA could be a tiebreaker. I think that would be something that would happen.
Okay.
What Stephen A
Can I say
is
one
saying,
thing really quick? Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead. It's just this. In 2025, in a predominantly black sport, I don't have the percentage. I just thought people cared about diversity and inclusion and everyone having a seat at the table and trying to have some progress in that area. And this is telling me otherwise.
They do, but not when it comes to controlling equity. When it comes to controlling equity in the NBA, nothing is more sacred.
Yeah, so then
So
you're still not giving up your power.
Molly, Molly, what are you asking? Because you got to remember, Molly, listen, we can take it to social issues and things that affect us as a nation and how everybody was listening and everybody's ears were perked up, and we have to be sensitive. We have to eradicate some of the problems that have existed in this world. And that faded into the twilight, and then ultimately there was a return to the norm. When Wendy points out equity and the importance of that, what do people in positions of power want to maintain? Power. And anything that compromises that, they're not going for. So in order for LeBron to happen, there would have to be a tsunami of public pressure, in my opinion, raining down upon the league and its board of governors in order for something to happen if all things were equal. Certainly they'll sit up there and point the finger in the direction of somebody else if they have the opportunity to do so, because there's not a lot of people inclined to help LeBron James because they don't feel, even though they know he's done a tremendous amount for the league, we all know this, there are other things that he has done that has not been helpful. And they know it, they feel it, and they point the finger at him for it. I brought up the slam dunk contest. They talk about that. We all brought up the lackadaisical effort that they put forth for the All-Star game on Sunday for All-Star weekend. You think they don't look at LeBron James? Larry Bird and Dr. J and them come in and talk to the team last year, and they think that they've touched the pulse of the players and all of this stuff. And then they say, you know what? LeBron just gave a side eye to everybody else. And the next thing you know, they went out there and allowed 400 points damn near to be scored, putting forth no effort whatsoever. It may not have been his fault, but they didn't view it that way.
Yeah.
And because they didn't view it that way, those are the kind of elements, those increments of things, those incremental things that could be problematic when you're asking for equity in a prestigious sports brand.
No,
that is the bottom line.
And Wendy, I'll give you the last word, but obviously maybe that's the reason you go in a different direction. I know they're saying he's not a part of this Maverick Carter project, but maybe you go in a different direction and you do your own thing. Wendy?
Well, I believe LeBron will have a big future in basketball after he finishes playing.
So do I.
I don't exactly know how it will play out, but I would invest with him. I don't have that kind of money, but I would invest with him because I
So
believe
would
in
I.
where he's going. You know,
So would I.
you have that money, Stephen. I
deserve-
don't have that.
So, no, neither do I. He deserves it, Molly. Let's be clear to end this subject.
Yeah.
LeBron James deserves to be an owner of an NBA franchise. There is no question about that with what he has done for the game. But there are people in positions of power he has alienated because of the influence they know he has with other players and how they've acted. They point the finger at him and some of the things that he has done in a way that he has handled it to sort of snub his nose at the business. They are resentful of it. They have not forgotten it, and they are not inclined to help him. That is, I am not guessing.
Concur
I'm
with that
telling you.
statement. I concur with that.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Keep them down, try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA and ESPN.